Folks, welcome back. My name is Rudy. You're watching Alpha Investments. You know, I had some interesting messages come in the other day, and it was so it made my brain implode on itself like a little tumbleweed, and it made me want to talk to everybody about it. And that's the conversation regarding Magic, the reserve list, graded cards, all the new Magic that's brand new, that's all worthless, and it's dead. That industry's over with. And then you look at Pokemon. How on earth can the original two card games, plus I guess Yu-Gi-Oh, the original big two of Pokemon and Magic, right? How can the original two, after 20, 30 years, Pokemon still has the normal booster box, and Pokemon has a little, elite trainer box, a little, a bunch of little display and fancy big package things for stores, in big box stores, and then Magic had to pivot, I don't know, to stay relevant, to increase revenues, to get Chris Cox promoted from WotC to Hasbro. And Wizards shifted to all these massive price increases. These insane $500 plus tax for Modern Horizons collector boxes. Like, they've pivoted to this very bizarre, super expensive, collectible card game that doesn't feel very collectible. Right? Isn't that kind of the thing here? But how is the cheaper product, which is Pokemon, who has this little $100 booster box that's looked the same forever. There's no Pokemon, premium Horizons box. There's no Pokemon Masters reprint set from all the different, crazy gym challenge and jungles and base sets and all the way back to you get the idea. But it's like, how did they diverge so much? And what would have happened if we didn't have that? What if Magic just stayed with draft boxes and didn't do anything else? Remember, before 2020, everything in the world of Magic still was very normal, and everything functioned very normally. It wasn't till Chris Cox got promoted, the previous CEO of Hasbro died, unfortunately, young and bad. I think it was cancer-related. Terrible story. Very nice guy, actually. And then Chris Cox, pushed Wizards to this flashy, super collectible, investable Magic thing that just doesn't feel very collectible anymore or investable anymore. Like, everybody just doesn't feel connected to it. Now, of course, you have exceptions. Rudy, Lord of the Rings! Fallout. There's always going to be exceptions to certain products that just make people go crazy. But it's such a bizarre thing when I stop and I go over here and I say, Pokemon has this cheap $100 box. And not only is it a cheap $100 box, Pokemon only has a couple cards worth something. Over 95% of Pokemon people don't play the game. I'm rounding up from 92%. But you get the idea. Over 90% of Pokemon don't even play. Don't care. Don't know how to play. Don't care. I don't play Pokemon. I think I played once when I was a kid and I didn't like it. I played Magic for a bazillion years in the past, but I never really cared about playing Pokemon. Just did nothing for me. And it's one of these things where, okay, a new Pokemon box could be $100. A couple cards, maybe some of the secret rares and hits and alt arts are $20 to maybe get a $50 card, maybe a $100 card or $20 card. But overall, there's not a lot of secondary market single card value. And then on top of that, the cheapest Pokemon $100 boxes, people are obsessed with grading them. Obsessed. It's unbelievable the demand that people have for grading Pokemon cards. Every new set that comes out, even with Rudy's 69% ownership of Premier Card Grading, the U.S. over here operations, I see new orders coming in every day. When I look at these orders and I'm going like this, I see brand new Pokemon cards, Paradox Rift, Mr. P, Scarlet Violet base all the time, and I'm like, it's wild to see the volume of Pokemon cards being graded that are brand new. And I dare you all, ask anybody about opening the new Magic Karlov Manor or the new Magic anything. It could be Lord of the Rings, Ravnica Remastered, it could be Doctor Who, it could be Ixalan. Ask anybody about grading them, and they will literally make fun of you. Now, if it's a serialized card, maybe that's a little different. But I mean, besides a serialized card, which is very difficult to get, I mean, most of the card, nobody grades Magic cards. The grading of new Magic is so frowned upon. And it's wild because New Magic has these super rare, expensive. I mean, look at Modern Horizons 3. 500 plus tax on Amazon for a little 12-pack booster. And yet, 99.99% of those cards will never be graded or never be investable, collectible, or anything, and people don't care. And it's so weird, because using common sense in approaching some of these markets as I don't know, just kind of a very fundamental, okay, that box costs this. Okay, what are the cards in the box worth? Okay, how often do you pull that? What's the probability? Okay, do people grade them? Is there a premium of a graded 10 versus a 9? The more you look into it, the more your brain just kind of gets confused. And it's such a weird, bizarre world. And it makes us step back, and it makes us ask the question that I had from some of you all in Patreon messages asking, do you think it's intentional? My short answer to everybody is I believe what's happening is a side effect in Magic of Hasbro, Chris Cox, and Wizards of the Coast demanding infinite growth to satisfy Hasbro's poor leadership and management, lack of growth and revenue. I believe we are all seeing side effects started in 2020. The side effects of prices through the roof, in printing through the roof, and we're seeing, unfortunately, the Magic the Gathering card game is paying the price of bad management. That's all it is. That's really as watered down as it is. Because when I get a Patreon message from you all and it says like, hey Rudy, I actually think this whole thing about Wizards of the Reserve List, they don't give a shit about it. They're never going to go back and reprint the Reserve List. They got close to it. They walked the line of the Reserve List with Magic 30, and it was one of the most disastrous PR events in the history of modern day Hasbro, and probably in the top 1 or maybe the top 3 worst events in Magic the Gathering's 30-year history. Do you agree? I do agree with that. There is no way that they are going to mess with the Reserve List because they don't want to. They want to move forward with more power creep, and they want to change all of our perspectives, or they want to change all of the perspective of us from thinking that cards with value are reserve lists. They want us all to look over here of the value of serialization in special cards, in secret layers, in special variants of a card. And I agree with that. When I saw that message from Patreon, I was like, that's actually makes a lot of sense. Why work on the old cards? When you reprint them, they don't look like the old cards. And if you've been in this industry long enough to know, you're aware, if they go back and reprint a Portal 3 Kingdoms, Ravages of War, when they reprint an old card from Portal 3 Kingdoms, an ABU card, maybe a Four Horsemen card that's not reserve list, a Weatherlight, an Ice Age, an Alliances era, a Tempest era, non-reserve list card, they don't do well. They just kind of come out and they tank in price, and Wizards realizes that really wasn't much equity value for them to make money on or to cash in on. They learned that modern day and younger generation Magic people don't care about that Portal 3 Kingdom reprint. They don't care about those Tempest Medallions reprints. They don't care about Alliances reprint, some really cool cards. They learn these things, and Wizards has learned this. And they continue to make adjustments with their financial Wall Street analytical team, even though, remember, they're for the people and community and the image to make you all feel good on the internet. You know what I mean on social media. Stay away from Twitter. It's dangerous. You lose brain cells every time your phone loads it. Stay away. And, they want you to believe they're here for the mouth hugs, and they want to just be your friend. And then, but the amount of data, and I can't imagine the conversations that go on. Like, God, if there was a way to somehow not do illegal things, but to get in there and record or understand what the conversations are at that level, it would be priceless. It would be unbelievable. It might be scary. We may not want to know. It might be so bad we all just run. Rudy deletes his whole channel and just leaves the planet because of how stupid they are, But it's one of those situations where it's like, oh my God, if maybe that there's truth to that. Maybe Wizards wants us all to focus on special variants, collectible cards like Secret Lairs and limited time drops, and of course, new versions and new creations of value versus recycling the old stuff. And it feels like there's a lot more truth to that than I want to accept, and I feel like a lot of you all want to accept. because it really feels like we're going in that direction. Because if you really think about it, in the past, when we announced, or we, Rudy, I knew you worked for Wizards. When Wizards would announce a reprint master set, like Iconic Masters, Masters 25, Ultimate Masters, Double Masters, Eternal Masters, one of the first things everybody did was, what are the reprints? Where are the modern hits? Tarmogoyfs, Dark Confidants, Lilies, where are the reprints? Fetches? Shocks? What are we getting? Where are all the big hits? What cards from Ravnica, Lorwyn, Guild Pack? What are we reprinting? What kind of lands? Fetches? Shocks? Filter lands? Like, people cared about reprints, and the value of reprints. And I feel like as Wizards exhaust all the reprints and all modern standard cards don't have a lot of value anymore, they are forced to create new value. They can't just reprint over and over, because as we've seen, if you rely on that, there's nothing to support the value because you've already done that. And if you do it too quick, the old ones can't recover in price soon enough for you to cash them in again. So right now, it feels like that may be a real thing. Because like in this conversation, I've had so many conversations on Karlov Manor collector boxes in the play box lately. And I'll be honest with you, after seeing all the messages online, I genuinely assumed the Karlov Manor collector boxes were just going to collapse to $99 and the play boxes were going to be $50. The way the internet reacts, and even if I do a box opening video, the comments and reactions and lack of interest is so off the chart negative. Like, I was like, dang, maybe Karlov Manor is just going to collapse really bad. And I don't mean Karlov Manor's on TCG Player for $159 plus tax, so $175 shipped. I mean, that's doing poorly, but that's not a collapse when it started at, I don't know, what it started at, 200, and then now it's down to 175 shipped. I mean, that's not good. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it's a 15% drop in like a couple weeks. That's not good, but it's not like it's like a collapse. Like, if I saw this thing go from, I want to see like, if Karlov goes from like $199 a collector box to $99, and that's what it felt like was going to happen with everybody, but it's not. And that's what's bizarre about it. And then now we're starting to see Karlov single cards like come up, and the Vein Rippers and the land, like they're holding up better than we thought. And again, my opinion is not because people want the cards. I think they're holding up better than we thought because people didn't open them. People just skipped the set, so it's making the cards more expensive. Buy the singles you want only. Game piece, that kind of thing. And it's just like, wow. So if we go in that direction, and I'm going to leave everybody on this thought. If we have a future where desirable cards, they create the value with redemption cards, serialized cards, sketch cards, signed cards, that's fine. I already know what's coming anyways. But if we focus more on Magic's future of all new cards being created, and reprint equity of old cards isn't as big of a deal, because there's going to be a point in time where they have to kind of lean into just new stuff, because there's just not going to be enough. They've reprinted everything so many times, nobody gives a shit. And I feel like we're pretty much either there or we're very close to being there. So that makes it, how do I say this? If future Magic sets and Universes Beyond sets are filled with mostly cards that are new or mechanically unique, is the term everybody likes to use, they're just new cards. It creates a larger, unpredictable direction of the product. It's a lot easier for people like me to predict the value or direction of, let's say, Ravnica Remastered collector box on currently $250 plus $265 shipped right now on TCG Player. It's pretty easy to, and I told y'all, even when we did the box openings, that Ravnica Remastered collectors can't go to $99. The Shocklands alone in every collector box are worth more than $99. Like, you can't have that. Then you have every other mythic and variant and chances for serialization. There's just too much going on. So it's kind of like you can kind of see, okay, well, most likely that's improbable. That's improbable. The most likely outcome and with the highest probability, if you're a statistician, is going to be, well, Ravnica Remastered collectors are going to be $250 or $300. And that's just what it is. And that's kind of what we saw happen. But when you see a product, like let's say Outlaws in the Junction set coming up, the Western set, and you see a product like Karlov Manor, let's pretend for a second both of these sets are all brand new cards. It's very difficult to predict that cone of probability of low, high, average, and most likely, because we don't know the performance and history of the singles. And it creates a bigger uncertainty and a bigger, if this was Wall Street, the variance would be larger. The implied volatility of swings would be larger because we don't know. Because what happens if Carlos Manor actually has another rare or two more rares or a mythic go from $2, $3 a card to 10, 15, 20 each. And suddenly the expected value swings on the card or the box. And that's what makes it very unpredictable. And the reason I bring this up, everyone, is it reminds me of the past with Magic. Back in the day, like with Arabian Nights, nobody wanted Bazaar Baghdad. If you pulled Bazaar Baghdad, you were deemed, oh shit, a crappy pull. Man, I really wanted that Jean de Jin. I wanted an Efreet. I wanted a library. I wanted a Loa. I wanted something different. I wanted some, I don't know, Ring of Maru, or I wanted some sort of pyramid or something. And, or City of Brass. But now, when we look back with today's perspective, we realize how wrong we all were. And the only reason we were wrong, and we weren't wrong then, though, everyone's opinion of Bazaar Baghdad in 1993, 4, 5, 6, 7, in the early 90s, and mid-90s and late 90s, the only reason people didn't like it is because the card sucked. But in the future, with synergies, updates, changes, maybe formats, styles, and, interaction, we don't know what it's worth. And that's what I feel like the direction that we're going in right now is. Because like I said, I look at Pokemon, $100 boxes, people grade all the new Pokemon cards. No special this and that, no fancy 20 versions. We look at Magic, it's so expensive. Nobody really wants to grade their new Magic, besides serialized cards. And how do we know what the future's going to hold of these new sets? If the only thing we're looking at are reprints, and all the reprints have been just nuked to the ground, we can no longer calculate and understand the direction of new Magic product. Because on the surface, let's be honest, let's be straightforward about it. New Magic boxes, sealed Magic boxes, commander decks, collector boxes, on the surface level, without any deep conversation, the idea that these are successful products and are going to gain value is not looking good. It doesn't look good. None of them really do good. The odds are against you. They're going to reprint anything that becomes expensive. It's just, these are products that don't look good for people who want to collect or invest anymore. The collectible card game of Magic is not collectible or investable. That is the generally accepted consensus right now. But when you have a deeper conversation, we kind of move that aside and we kind of discuss long term, and we discuss the direction of Wizards, and we discuss that everything's been reprinted so much, the single cards of the past that we know are desirable are no longer valuable. That means they have to fill the new stuff with specialty gimmicky cards and new cards. And we can't calculate that. There's no way for us to calculate the value of a Bazaar Baghdad from the 90s. There's no way for us to calculate a Phyrexian Dreadnought from Mirage from the late 90s to today. There's no way to understand that the value of I was saying like a Cradle or something, but everybody knew Cradles. Or the Saga was amazing from day one. Not a good example. Cards from Tempest in Weatherlight. Like if you just go on Dawnglare, TCG Player, hit Tempest, hit Weatherlight, hit Exodus, hit Sort by Most Expensive, you'll see all kinds of shit. City of Traitors. That's a garbage card. Oh, Survival of the Fittest. That's okay. What is this card right here? Huh. Wait, Mox Diamond? It's got a drawback? Sliver Queen. I guess slivers are always a thing, but 5-drop of every color. In the moment, it's tough. And there's a lot of cards that you can't calculate. And that's where I feel like we're at. Because on the surface, everything looks bad. And the market data of the 2-year crash confirms that management's behavior, the actual direction of Magic, the price of Magic, doesn't look good. But then the raw sales continue to be booming. There are more people who are aware of the brand of Magic and playing the game of Magic now than ever before in human history. And that's a fact. That's not my opinion. There are more people who know what the brand Magic is, and Magic the Gathering, and Hasbro, and all this stuff. There are more now on this planet alive than any other time in Magic's history, especially post Lord of the Rings and all these crossovers. And these that is a fact. And that's what Hasbro's trying to lean into. So my point is, on the surface, things may look bad, but when you have a more in-depth conversation, we actually don't really know. We don't really understand what the value is and what the future. Are all these things really worthless and going to zero? Should we just dump everything and enjoy the cards and just trash them? Are they truly, should they be treated as game pieces? Should you just buy one little play box and draft it with friends and then literally just take the cards and throw them in the garbage or the closet? Maybe build a deck. Why even buy card sleeves? I mean, if every card is kind of purposely suppressed in the goal, according to Twitters and social media, if the goal was to have all standard cards below $5, or you can't have anything over double digits, so it can't be over 10. So if the goal is all standard cards are a penny to $9, in reality, why are you buying $10, $20, $50 deck boxes and sleeves and binders? And I guess, it's very confusing. It's very confusing. Hope you guys learned something today. I'm going to cut it off there. I rambled a lot. You all have a beautiful day.